Hello everyone. In this session, we'll be looking at how assembly processes are managed in the Onfinity system. We want to show you how these processes support business operations. Let's start with the agenda so you know what to expect. Today, our agenda includes understanding the concept of assembly. We will also explore the bills of material for the configuration part of the assembly. Next, let's move on to the objectives of this session. The objective of this session is to enable you to understand the assembly and its associated terms in the context of business processes. It also enables you to test the assembly process in the context of business requirements. Now, let's look at the prerequisites. Before you begin working with assembly in Onfinity, ensure that you have access to the Onfinity platform with a valid user ID and password. Additionally, the tenant and organization configurations must be completed and available. Now, let's begin the session with the simple definition of assembly. Here, we will understand what an assembly is. Assembly refers to the process of creating or producing finished goods by combining raw materials or semi-finished goods, SFGs. This means that individual components are brought together to form a complete product that is ready for use or sale. It typically involves minimal transformation of the components, where parts are simply put together to form a final product. This process is common in industries where products are made from standard components. For example, many electronics, furniture, or machinery products follow this approach, allowing businesses to efficiently produce finished goods from pre-existing parts. For instance, let's take a simple and relatable example of a desktop computer. A desktop unit is assembled by combining a keyboard, mouse, monitor, and other components, like a CPU, all sourced as individual items. The final product is a ready-to-use desktop unit. You may sell keyboard, mouse, and monitors as a separate products, and also sell as a desktop unit. In Onfinity system, assembly screen is used to record assembly records. This screen allows you to document all assembly activities, ensuring accurate tracking of materials, quantities, and finished products within the system. Next, let's identify the process flow configuration tasks that are needed to record an assembly. To record an assembly, here are some prerequisites that must be available in the system. You must have a warehouse and locator defined, a product with a bill of material, and the proper unit of measure set up. Now let's move on to an assembly use case. To better understand the assembly process, we'll walk through a real-world example and see, step by step, how it works in practice. Sonic Venture is a technology company that assembles customized desktop units for enterprise clients. They source components such as monitors from LG, CPUs from Intel, keyboards and mice from Logitech. To fulfill a bulk order of 5,000 desktop units, Sonic Venture starts the assembly process using these components. Each desktop unit is assembled by combining the sourced parts. It's then tested for quality and packaged for delivery. This use case shows the initiation of the process. It shows how an assembly begins in practice. It highlights how business requirements or operational needs drive the sourcing of components, their combination into finished products, and the delivery of the final output. Now, let's review the assembly process flowchart. This will help you understand the sequence before we proceed with the use case execution. Here's a process flowchart I've created. It will help you clearly understand how to process assembly. In Onfinity, all assembly activities are managed directly through the assembly screen. This process can only be started and recorded from the assembly screen. Next, we have the assembly use case execution. Once components are available, they're shipped to the assembly plant. The process begins with installing the RAM, SSD, CPU, and motherboard into the cabinet. This is followed by connecting the monitor, keyboard, and mouse. After assembly, each unit goes through quality checks. It's then packaged with accessories and stored in inventory until it's dispatched. This ensures Sonic Venture maintains optimal stock levels and meets client delivery timelines. That concludes the conceptual part of the assembly process in our system. We've understood what assembly is, explored its use cases, and reviewed the process flow. With this background, we're now ready to proceed with its execution in Onfinity. Now, we'll move into the Onfinity system and go through the step-by-step process of executing an assembly. To begin, open the Onfinity link in your browser. On the Onfinity login page, enter your user ID. Enter your password and then click on Login to access the Onfinity system. After logging in, you'll arrive at the Onfinity homepage. Here, you'll see various mosaics that display real-time data. This data is based on the transactions recorded in the system. These mosaics provide insights for analyzing the current business position. The mosaics you see will depend on your access rights and the modules installed in the system. Since this is a demonstration setup, the system contains a limited number of records and transactions. Because of this, you might not see much data reflected in the mosaics at this stage. There's no need to worry about the mosaics right now. Once actual business transactions are recorded, the relevant mosaics will automatically display the information. First, we'll look at the configuration of the product master to be used in the assembly process. This will help you understand how to configure the bill of material so that the product can be used on the assembly screen. To open the product, you can search for Product Master in the menu search utility, or you can navigate through Master Data Management, then go to the Product Management module. There you'll find the Product Master. Once you click on the Product Master, you'll arrive at its landing page. The details of the Product Master have already been covered in a separate session. So, in this session, we'll focus on the bill of material products. We'll create a finished good using the required components. I've already created the components under the product category Desktop and its assembly components. To view these records, click on the Desktop and its assembly component hyperlink in the product category Mosaic. Generally, components don't require any additional configuration. These are simple products. You can create them by clicking on New Record and entering the minimum required information. This includes product category, product type, product name, unit of measure, and tax category. Save the record to create the product. If you have questions about Product Master creation, refer to the dedicated training session on that topic. Now, we need to create a new product. This will be the finished product. This finished product will be linked with all the components we've already created. Together, they will form the final product. Now, let's return to the grid view. Here, you can see the components that have been created. These include the CPU cabinet, Intel i7 CPU, LG monitor, Logitech keyboard, Logitech mouse, motherboard, RAM, and SSD. So, let's create a new record by clicking on New Record. This will open the record in single record view, so you can enter the details. The first step here is to select the product category. In this case, we'll select Desktop and its assembly component. Once the product category is selected, the system will automatically update the product type and tax category based on the product category configuration. After that, enter the product name as Desktop. For now, simply save the record to complete the creation of this product. This is how a standard product is created. The same product can also be used in different ways. It might be a component in another finished good, or it can serve as a semi-finished product if it has its own bill of material. In those cases, the product is complete on its own, but it can also be linked as a component to create another finished product. From here, click on the Manufacturing Details tab button to go to the Manufacturing Details tab. In the Manufacturing Details tab, mark the Bills of Material check button as true. This will enable and display the BOM Details tab button. You'll also see another check button here, which is Verified. Our product will only be visible on the assembly screen once the Verified checkbox is marked as true. To mark the Verified check button as true, first add the required components in the BOM Details tab, then click the Process Now button. You'll also see other check buttons such as Manufactured, Planned Item, and Cost based on Roll-Up. These are mainly used for manufacturing, production, and execution processes. Since those topics are part of the manufacturing module, we won't cover them here. They are covered in the dedicated manufacturing training session. For now, let's continue with the bill of material configuration. Now, let's save the record and move to the BOM Details tab. Clicking on the BOM Details tab button will take you to the BOM Details tab. Here, click on New Record to begin creating the bill of material for the product. For this example, let's enter the BOM name as Desktop. If you've linked an attribute group to the header of this product, you can define attributes here in the Attribute Set Instance field. You can add multiple BOMs based on the attributes or the components used. Another important field is the BOM type. This indicates the current active BOM to be used for this product. Next, we have the BOM Use field. This defines how this bill of material will be applied. There are two options available. The first option is Master. This is specifically for the assembly process. Selecting Master ensures that the BOM can be used when creating finished products in the assembly screen. The second option is Manufacturing. This is for manufacturing setup. The manufacturing type of BOM is used in manufacturing and production execution processes. It will be explained in detail in the dedicated manufacturing training session. Finally, you'll find the Reverse Assembly check button. This is used when performing a reverse assembly. We'll cover this in the dedicated reverse assembly process. So, for now, we'll leave it unchecked and save the record. Next, we'll go to the BOM Component Details tab by clicking on the BOM Component Details tab button. Click on New Record. This will open the tab in Single Record View. Here, in this tab, we just need to select the component that we're going to use. The operation sequence and line number will be automatically populated. This indicates the sequence in which this assembly will be carried out. In the BOM Component tab, we have the Component Type field. This defines the specific role of the component in the assembly. It can be set as alternative, alternative default, optional product, standard product, or outside processing. For this assembly, we'll select standard product, as it's a regular component needed for the finished product. Next, in the component field, select CPU cabinet. Then enter the required quantity. In our case, 1 unit of each component product is needed. The quantity field lets you define the quantity required for assembly. This ensures the BOM reflects the correct number of components for assembly. If the product being used as a component has another BOM available, you can define that in the Component BOM field. If your component product has an attribute set instance, or if you want to define one here, you can use the Attribute Set Instance field for that purpose. Next, there's the Supply Type field. This field defines how the component will be supplied. It can be push, assembly pull, or operation pull. The selection depends on how the supply is captured. It can be pushed by the responsible person or pulled automatically by the operation during the assembly process. For now, we'll select the supply type as push. To save the component line, click Save Record. To add additional components, click New Record and repeat the process. Next, select the component Intel i7 CPU and save the record. Click New Record again to add the remaining components. Select Motherboard, save the record, and then add a new record to select SSD as the component. For the SSD component, we've defined an attribute group. To set the attribute value, click on the Attribute Set Instance field. This opens the Attribute Set Instance page. Since the combinations are already available, click on Select Existing Record and choose the appropriate SSD attribute combination. In our case, select 512 GB, click OK to confirm, and then click OK again to add the value to the Attribute Set Instance. Finally, save the line and click New Record to add the next component. Select RAM as the component. Then click on the Attribute Set Instance field to open the Attribute Set Instance page. Click on Select Existing Record and choose the available attribute combination. In this example, it's 6GB. Click OK to confirm, then click OK again to add the value to the attribute set instance and save the line. Click on New Record, select Logitech Keyboard as the required component and save the line. Click New Record again, select Logitech Mouse, and save. Finally, click on New Record to add one LG monitor as the component and save the line. Once all components are added, click the back button to return to the grid view. Verify all the BOM components you've added. After verification, click back again to return to the BOM Details tab. Clicking back once more will open the BOM Details tab in Grid View. Finally, click back again to navigate to the Manufacturing Details tab. Once you're in the Manufacturing Details tab, click the Process Now button to mark the product as verified. Now that the product has been verified, it will appear on the assembly screen. This completes the setup of the product as a finished good, with all its components assigned through the bill of material. This process shows how a bill of material can be used to configure a product for assembly. To proceed with the assembly process, go to the menu. You can search for Assembly directly using the menu search utility, or you can go through Material Management. Under Material Management, open Storage Operations. There, you'll find the assembly screen. Click on Assembly to open it. Once you open the assembly screen, you'll arrive at the landing page. Here, you can see the Create View mosaic. From this mosaic, you can add a new record by clicking New Record. You can also view existing records by clicking View Records. The landing page also has the Advanced Search mosaic. You can use this to filter records based on various criteria. For example, you can filter to view assemblies created this month, this week, or even based on today's created and unposted documents. Currently, there are no records available to display. Let's create a new record. Click on the New Record mosaic. This will open the screen in Single Record View. At the top of the screen, you'll see the Assembly Screen Header panel. This provides quick access to key information. This includes organization, movement date, document number, and name. The panel also includes the Process Production button. This initiates the assembly process. It also has the Not Posted button to post the record once processing is complete. On the assembly header, first select the organization under which the assembly process will be executed. Next, provide a meaningful name for the assembly. For instance, you might use Desktop Assembly for bulk production. There's also a description field. You can enter additional information here. This is just for reference and doesn't impact the functionality, so it can be left blank if no further details are required. Next, set the movement date to the date on which the assembly process is being performed. The Records Created check button will automatically be marked as true once the process production is initiated. This indicates that the component lines will be generated based on the selected bill of material. When you enter a verified BOM product in the Assembly Product tab, the system will automatically create the corresponding component lines. Before proceeding, save the header. You can add the assembly product directly from the Composite view for Assembly Plan. Alternatively, click on the Assembly Product tab button to go to the Assembly Product tab. Then, click on New Record to add a line and select the product. In our case, the product is Desktop, and it comes with its BOM. By the way, it's the only BOM we've created so far. Next, select the warehouse where the finished product will be stored. This is also where the components will be sourced from. Then, choose the appropriate locator. In the Production Quantity field, enter the number of units you want to produce. For our example, we'll enter 5,000 units. Once all details are entered, click Save to save the record. The Difference Value field and the Reverse Assembly checkbox are used for the reverse assembly process. For now, we won't discuss these in detail. They'll be covered in the dedicated reverse assembly session. Once you've entered and saved the assembly product, click on the Process Production button in the header panel. Confirm the process by clicking OK. An info page will appear with the checkbox, "Product quantity must be in stock." You can use this checkbox to ensure that lines are only inserted if the required quantities are available in stock. If the quantities aren't available, the lines won't be inserted. Click OK to confirm. The assembly component lines will be inserted automatically based on the given configuration on the product master. You can review the assembly from the composite view. To examine the component lines, click on the Review Assembly Components tab to go to the Assembly Line tab. Next, click on the hyperlink of a line to open it in Single Record View. Here you can verify all the required details for the assembly line. You can also add a description to specify additional information for the assembly line. You can update the attribute set instance if necessary. Click back to return to the grid view. You'll see that all the assembly lines have been updated. The cost will be inserted once this record is fully processed. Next, go back to the assembly header by clicking on the Home option. Once the record is processed, the Records Created checkbox will automatically be marked as true. This indicates that all assembly lines have been successfully inserted. To complete the process, click the Process Production button again. Confirm by clicking OK, and acknowledge the information message. This process will only proceed if the required product quantities are available in stock. Once completed, you'll see the message "Process completed successfully" displayed at the bottom of the screen. This indicates that your assembly has been successfully processed. The quantity of the desktop product has been updated in the selected warehouse. You can go to the Assembly Product tab and then to Review Assembly Components. You'll see that the cost of the finished product has also been updated. The cost is calculated based on the combination of all component costs. To return to the header, click the Home button. If you need to reverse this document, you can click the Reverse Document button. This will reverse the transaction. This concludes the demonstration of how to use the assembly screen in the Onfinity system. If you want to post this record, click on the Not Posted button. Confirm by clicking OK. This will complete the posting for the selected record. The corresponding entries will be updated in the General Ledger, or GL. You can review these entries by clicking on the Posted button. This will display all posted transactions in the Account View page. If you identify any discrepancies and need to make adjustments, you can update the posting logic. Then, use the Repost button to apply the changes. Once your review is complete, you can close the Account Viewer page. Let's move back to the presentation to review the remaining topics. Our next topic is the assembly mosaics. We've already explored these during the demonstration of the assembly landing page. In the assembly mosaics, we have the Create view to view records and add new ones. We also have the Advanced Search, which can be used to filter records as needed. Thank you for attending. We hope this training has helped you understand how to manage and record the assembly process in Onfinity. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us.